Hello everybody, Sanjita here, and today I'm going to be talking to you about late game bottlenecks. Just like I did an early game bottleneck video talking about when they ever go away, if they ever do. We're covering late game bottlenecks now, and you can think of this more as Gear 12, the Gear 12 Plus, and relics mostly. Technically, the Zetas, Karutex, Omicron, stuff like that, they're all bottlenecks still in the late game, even though I did cover them in the early game video, so I'm not going to be diving too much into them as this time, but it might have some incidental coverage. And we're looking at Kanan here because he is a great example for the Gear 12 gear. So starting with the left side piece, this Armatech Bayonet, it's not the most commonly needed Gear 12 piece, but all the Gear 12 pieces on the left side as you're looking at my hands, are kind of equally difficult to get. Now this is one that's more popular, and you're going to probably be wanting to farm this node more because it has a lot of extra benefits. It's got these gold eyeballs, it's got Mark III holo projectors, and then this is good for carbonite circuit boards. So this is a more common one that you want to farm, and you might feel the crunch more for it as a later game player because you need it for your impulse detectors. But the way to manage these, for the most part, I think the best currency to buy these with, and it's not showing here, is Shard Shop currency. So Shard Shop currency, if you're a late game player, I think you should exclusively use it on Gear 12 pieces and Gear 12 Plus pieces. Well, not Gear 12 Plus, Gear 12 side pieces, such as this. So I have so many of these, and I also have so many of the one everyone hates, the Mark 6 Athacam med pack. This is needed so much. If you look at a Galactic Legend farm, you're going to see way more of these required than a lot of the other purple pieces. Another type of purple piece is the Mark 8 scanners. These things, which you see right here, and I don't have as many of these as I do the med packs. So this is very commonly needed as well. There are some that really pile up, but this and the med packs are really the two big purple gear, and they are great to obtain from Shard Shop currency, and also this Guild Event 1 currency. I like to use that on these as well, but I wouldn't recommend using raid currency on it, and you don't really need to farm them directly. They are on nodes, but you can probably get enough from those two sources. So those are definitely bottlenecks that I think go away at some point. Yeah, so these two stores should pretty much cover the left side Gear 12 pieces for you. See, I just farm them even if I have hundreds because I know I'm going to need them eventually. Then with a Guild Event 1, I'm already out because I use them constantly. I have been using my Guild Event 1 more on the gold Gear 12 pieces as opposed to the purple because I have plenty of the purple right now in all areas. And there's some gold that pile up. Like this one isn't needed as much by characters. But those are the ones I focus on the most. Moving on from Gear 12 pieces, which definitely are a bottleneck that end at some point, I think. We got our Gear 12 Plus pieces, and the quintessential Gear 12 Plus piece is the Mark 12 Furnace. This is required more than any other Gear 12 Plus piece, and I'll show you the stats on that in a second. But this one is one that you really just want to farm from a node directly. Pretty much every Gear 12 Plus piece I would recommend buying with your Guild Event token or your raid currency Mark II. It's a great deal. I still wouldn't buy this with Shard Shop. I'd say that exclusively is for Gear 12 pieces and maybe some pre-Gear 12 pieces that you need. But this is one that you really want to use your fleet currency for. If you're not farming a particular ship with fleet currency, you should gravitate towards this node. It's a great node because you're going to need these more than any other Gear 12 Plus piece for one. But there's also a lot of relic material here, and I'll cover that in a second too. But I think this is needed for carbonite circuit boards. This is needed for bronzium, and I forget what this one's needed for. Okay, so I just checked. This is actually for bronzium wiring too. It's not for a high conversion, but still, 2 extra bronzium wiring conversions from fleet energy is not bad at all. And then this is a primary bottleneck for Gear 12 Plus, and then carbonite circuit boards. You can always use more of those. But just to show you how much more of these you need than anything else, Here I am on Swigga.gg, and you can go to the database tab and click on gear, and you can see every piece of gear that's needed in the game, and click on it to see how many characters need it. So if I click on the fusion furnace, it says it is needed by characters 125 times, and that is quite a lot, but we don't have a real frame of reference yet. Let's look at some others, like the thermal detonators, do 72 times. So, I don't know, like 2/3, 3/5 or something of the amount that you need for furnaces. And then the stun gun, no, that's Mark 6 stun gun, this is hard to see. Mark 12 stun gun, 62 times, less than half of the times you need the furnaces. Another one is the HoloLens, 82 times, pretty high, still not even over 100. Then we got the keypads, only 53 times, like that is just chump change compared to the Mark 12 furnace. And I don't know if there's others, but I think I proved my point. This is needed way more often than anything else. So if you're trying to put excess resources into one of these Gear 12 Plus pieces and you don't have a specific character in mind, just throw it in the furnaces. You're going to need them anyway. I don't know the exact stats on which Gear 12 Plus piece the salvage is needed for the most, or which Gear 12 Plus piece is needed as salvage for the finishers the most. But I see furnaces pop up an awful lot. I actually also see more data pads and the HoloLenses, but I'm not sure because they're all individual. They're all individualized, and I don't feel like clicking on each one. Which, by the way, this is, you would think more of the finishers, you would think they're more of a late game bottleneck, but they're more of an early game bottleneck because as soon as you hit assault battles, you start swimming in this stuff. At least if you've completed most of them or all of them. Like, look how much I have. 823 of this, 699 of this, and then this one's the most used, 326 of this. Because you're getting 10 of each of these anytime you run an assault battle, as long as you've completed challenge tier 1, which isn't too hard nowadays. So these really pile up, and I think CG might kind of regret how much of these they gave away, because it is not a bottleneck at all. It evaporates pretty fast. And just to conclude on Gear 12 Plus pieces, I think they are the best use of your Mark II raid currency, and I've already talked about this in my peak efficiency shipments video. But the Gear 12 and a half, Gear 12 Plus pieces, the half side, this goes alongside the furnaces. This is the cheapest thing to buy with that currency that's worth it. The Gear 12 Plus pieces, the primary piece itself is also available, just a little bit more. I also think it's worth it. So I think farm the furnaces with the fleet energy and then just try to even out what you have of each. Like right now, I've kind of used a lot lately, so I'm right above 100 for most of the types. And I'm just trying to buy what I say I have the least of. And anytime the raid finishes, I just go and try to spend it all as fast as possible. So that's mainly how to take care of Gear 12 Plus. I'm not going to say Gear 12 Plus is a bottleneck that goes away, but it's definitely very manageable. And I can't remember the last time I've been stopped upgrading a character to Gear 13 because of a Gear 12 Plus piece. And now we move on to relic materials themselves, starting with the scavenger and carbonite circuit boards. The lowest level is still a bottleneck today. I don't think it's a super crazy bottleneck. It's not as bad as some others, but it's definitely something you're going to need to keep an eye on, even into the late game. What's nice is you don't need it for R8 or R9, so if you're super late game or you're getting a bunch of those, you don't have to worry about it. And there's no like killer piece for this, it's just you need to pile up mountains of it. So like this category is +3, this is +1, and I don't even know how many of the multiplier you need. So like you need 30s or something to get one. So if I do 1, 2, 3, you need like 35 of whatever this one number is. So that would mean like 12 of these, and you get one piece. So the best way to get these is in light side 1C. And it has several pieces, and they can drop more than one at a time. So you're going to get the most of this Mark 1 armor mod. And it piles up so fast when you start hitting this node. So basically just whatever you find yourself low on carbonite circuit boards, go hit light side 1C a while with your normal energy, and it goes away pretty fast. It really is not a big pain point. So it goes away whenever you want it to. Next up, we got bronzium wiring. And bronzium wiring, I'm pretty sure it's the thorn in everyone's side. You don't need it for R8 plus R9, but it's still such a huge bottleneck. From early game to late game, especially for newer players starting now that didn't have a running start to get tons of this material before relics were released. It's painful. There is one clear winner for the best piece for it, and that's this Mark V data pad. You see I have 347 now. I'll go to that node in a sec. There's also some mid-tier things that are like these components, they're prototypes, whatever they call them. I try not to scrap too many of these. I try to stay around 30 to 50 of each one, because you end up needing a lot of these when you are leveling up. But it is decent conversion, so you can get some there, but that's not really a targeted focus of your farm. You can also start scrapping like this gear that used to be super rare. If you have so much Mark 1 raid currency, you just want to blow it and pile this up, you can start getting bronzium wiring from here, but it's a bad conversion rate. See, I scrapped 50 of that, and it's worth just about 2 for 50 of the droid colors. But as you see, I have 1,400 of them, so I have a ton, and it's not really stopping me anymore. This is what I was farming with the furnace node. You don't need too many of those. You can just like chuck them at it. But the real moneymaker is going to be with this data pads. Let's just convert a bunch, get down to like 50 left. We got 66 there, so that's enough for like a couple relic levels, and that's nice. And you're getting that from Lightside 7B. This is like one of the best normal energy nodes to hit for gear, because you get this Chirotech piece, which is rare. I hit this a lot, so see I have 828 right now, and I have 1,000 of the computer one. But this also goes to bronzium wiring. This is the big ticket, and I think this is just for chromium transistors. But you really get a lot out of this, and I mean the main focus is the Kairos, yeah, but for me it's honestly more of the data pads now for me. So just to hit this all the time if you don't have any characters to farm, or you don't have anything very specific you want to farm. Another thing we'll talk about, another node that you really want to hit a lot, I already kind of mentioned, is 9F, but I'll come back to that again when I get to impulse detectors. That is a fantastic node. Just as a side note, I hope no one is doing this, but please never, ever, ever use your Mark II raid currency for bronzium wiring. It is the worst deal in the world. You get 2, that is just insulting, it's pathetic. Some people, let me know if you bought this, whether it's an accident or you just didn't know better. But yeah, never buy this. And chromium transistors are not really a bottleneck. You can buy this with your guild event currency, and you're gonna have, it's not showing right now in the store, not guild event, guild activity tokens. There's just so many currencies. And you will never go wanting. I just have 30 there that cost about like a few hundred, maybe 450 guild activity tokens, and you get enough. So never worry about that. Don't scrap anything else. Well, you can scrap like the Mark 7 armor mod that's fully, like this is fully crafted. It's kind of the same principle, but you don't have to worry about it. Not a bottleneck. It's also not really a bottleneck. Only scrap the fully crafted holo projectors, because you can get this pretty easily, and you can convert it for 5, so you'll need 4 of those to get a relic level past level 5. You just don't worry about it. So not really a bottleneck. This one is not really a bottleneck for me right now, but it might become so because of the raid change. But I used to get tons of the fully crafted Gear 12 pieces from the Sith raid because I hit it a lot. And yes, you didn't get them every time, but it was often enough that I was just always scrapping the fully crafted pieces or these component parts to them. But now I have to be more intentional about it. Yes, I have 195, but that might not last forever. My advice would be to not just scrap the direct salvage pieces, because that and this component prototype part are worth the same. It's 15 of whatever the salvage unit is per scrap piece. But if you look at these fully crafted ones, you're able to utilize those purple pieces, and that's worth the same amount. So I have a lot of these, so there's no direct way to scrap these into relic material, but if you just craft from this, I need to craft that there, and then you just scrap it, and you get 13 pieces. So it's not too bad. If you're stockpiling that Gear 12 purple piece, you can really skyrocket these pretty fast as needed, and I have plenty to work with left over. So the final verdict on Electriums is that is a bottleneck I do think goes away, but Zinvitals, it's a little bit trickier. It can go away with the new raid currency, but otherwise it is pretty tough. You cannot scrap fully crafted pieces. I don't know if you'd want to. I kind of would want to. I would want to have that option. But it's pretty much just the salvage. So you're going to be stockpiling that secondary Gear 12 Plus piece, and you're not going to be able to convert that or the purple pieces. And it's just only these 3 types. So you really have to be targeted to go out and get it. But it's also a great deal to buy them with raid currency. And I talked about and showed my math of why I think this is the best value for the tier 3 raid currency. But it just is. Just trust me on that. I mean, electrum conductors, it's easier to get. You can craft the full pieces like I just showed you. But Zimbittles, really good. Impulse detectors are also a good buy, so I'll transition into them. But if I didn't need Relic 8s for Leviathan, I would just only be hitting Zimbittles and stockpile it up higher and higher, so I'd never need it anymore. And then only when I need it, I'd go for impulse detectors. But you can scrap the Gear 12 pieces with that, which are a little bit easier to come by, but this is still a decent value for impulse detectors, which are pretty hard to come by in the quantities you need them. You need like 20 pieces almost to get, or almost 10 pieces to get 1 piece or 1 impulse detector. And these, they're running lower for me. I can't stockpile them fast enough. At least after the Darth Revan and Malik requirements to get to R9. They were both at R7, so I needed a lot of these. But there's no real shortcut, just that Tier 2 raid currency, or Mark 3 raid currency. But you might also need that for arrow magnifiers. Don't hate me because I forgot their name. It's just been so long since I've had to worry about these. But this is going to be a new bottleneck. You're pretty much going to have to buy these with the tier 3 guild currency, or you can buy them with crystals. You get a few in Territory War, and they are available to buy in Conquest, but they usually just flow like water in the Challenge Pit raid, and now it's a new bottleneck. So I don't know too much about it. I'm not an authority on it, but you're just pretty pressed on where you get those. So that is a new bottleneck that I don't know will ever go away for newer players, but for endgame players now, it already has passed. Droid brains, however, are a bottleneck I don't think you can ever truly have go away unless you're a person like me that just doesn't care about R9. So, I don't know. I guess it does go away. I mean, for me, it's not really a bottleneck. I have enough for almost 8 more R9s, and I'm not even close to being able to do that much. So it's kind of like a arrow magnifier situation light. If they ever change this, how much you get from Territory Wars, you need to be in a really big guild to start getting these. I think it's over 300 million is like the minimum to get them, or 350 or something. I don't know, it's been a while. But you could pretty much only get them from Territory War or buy them with crystals. So it's a pretty hard lock on them. The bottleneck is just how many R9s you actually want. In my mind, the real bottleneck for Relic 9 is the Gerda keypads. I don't care about the droid brains, but I don't have many keypads to spare. To actually take a character from Relic 8 to Relic 9, you need to scrap over 200 of a Gear 12 Plus piece that's eligible. And even with how many hundreds I have of this piece right now, I only have enough to get 1, so I have 438. It would take 260 or something. So it's a ridiculously bad conversion rate, but that is the advantage of only hitting this node with your fleet currency like I advised, or primarily hitting it. You could also hit these if you need them, because they're still, I mean, they convert the same. I just think this has better relic materials attached to it. But yeah, Gerda keypads is a bottleneck I'm pretty sure never goes away for anybody in this game. Okay, now we're done with scraps and on to signal data, and I really thought I'd be able to finish all this in a quicker amount of time, but there's just so much to cover. About this signal data, this is a bottleneck that I'm pretty sure never goes away. I don't know who is out there that has tons of signal data and they don't have enough scrap material. The bottleneck is always the signal data, and I mean the primary source of it is from these nodes. You can also buy it for decent crystal amounts, but the light blue color, gray, white, whatever you want to call it, that's the easiest to farm here. The second easiest is the green, and the dark blue is the worst. But there are a couple alternatives to just farming the Cantina nodes. You can buy them in Conquest from the Wandering Scavengers with your Conquest currency. So whenever you've bought all the shards for the new character or ship, you can move on to this. If you buy the Conquest Pass, you're going to be loaded with this currency and be able to blow all on this, which is glorious. But as a non-spender, you can't do that, so you just need to be very wise and only spend that currency on this signal data. If you are piling up crystals, this is also not a bad buy. I have bought this on numerous occasions, blowing the 1500 crystals for this 50. You can also buy them. They're cheaper for the green and blue, obviously. It's 2,000 crystals for 100. That's 1,000 for 50 as opposed to 1,500. I think the math says that this is the best one to buy, but to me, I just hate farming the last piece, the incomplete signal data, so much that that's the one I buy with the crystals. Kind of unrelated, but this just popped up in my inbox, and I think this is further confirmation of a Galactic Legend Leia coming out, because they reshuffled all these nodes. A lot of these characters onto different nodes. A lot of it is Phoenix characters, but there's also Princess Leia and Stormtrooper Han. And I think they are more pertaining to a Princess Leia Galactic Legend than a Galactic Legend Ahsoka. And Phoenix are an easy tie-in for that. I know they kind of fit more with Ahsoka than Leia, but I think that's just an extra stretch for CG to go to. So that just popped up in my inbox now, just an aside. So that is it. That is all you need to know. Now you'll be able to relic 9 characters just like that. It'll be super easy for you. Just kidding. There are plenty of bottlenecks that don't go away. The signal data, the Gerda keypads, the bronzium wiring. All these are just pretty much permanent bottlenecks that you just have to deal with. But if you use some of the methods I talked about in this video, that can help you cope with them for sure. So anyway, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and sub if you haven't already. I appreciate you guys. See you later.